the only thing that leads to your liberation is when you say, I chose this man.
Mm,
I chose this man to give me this experience
mm,
so I could connect with resources within myself that I never would have known, that I never would have stepped into so early, that it's so that my sex was engaged and alive from the time I was the littlest child. Like, I chose this
mm,
to be broken in precisely this way. So the woman standing before you right now could be,
mm,
because you never could be this were it not for him.
mm, mm,
He was the entry point into your magic. And when you own that, that's a different version of you walking around the world, because you're not carrying that darkness as like a burden. You're carrying it as a liberation. And then you
mm,
become the liberation of that
mm,
for so many women
mm,
that have similar or parallel storylines.
mm.
And so it was, that shit is not easy to do. It is
No.
not easy.
I think too, like the power of the courtesan's journey and the way that you guide that process, right? Like, so when I first started doing healing for sexual abuse, and there were like lots of healers who would be like, oh, well, you chose this, like your soul chose this, Number one, I wasn't ready to feel that,
Right.
see that, understand that. Like I
Yeah.
needed to process on a human level how fucked
Yeah.
up it was.
Yeah.
Cause
You need to do the
on
swamping of it.
yeah, on some level, as you're saying, like there has to be a reckoning with the
Yeah.
fact that it was fucked up. It was
Hmm.
wrong. There was a legitimate victim experience in
Completely.
me as a child,
Yeah.
right? So owning that first, but also a lot of the people who had space, it was like they wanted to say that so that they could somehow feel better about the world. Like
Yeah.
what I had been through was so unthinkable to them
Yeah.
that when they were like, well,
Hmm.
we all chose our lives, our souls, or whatever, it not only rang hollow, but it was like, don't use my experience to try and feel better about
Yeah.
this world, this reality, because like we all know it's got some serious shadow, evil, pain, wounding,
Yeah.
trauma, right?
Yeah.
And to face that is very important. So it's not something you can throw around, but in the courtesan's journey, it's an invitation in my experience for my soul and my psyche to see that. And I will say this, and it's a delicate thing to say, right? Because at the wrong time in a healing journey, it can actually potentially be counterproductive.
Yeah.
And for me, I still carried this like lingering heavy trauma in my bones, even
Yeah.
into my 30s, where I was like, wow, like I still feel the
Mhm.
heaviness of that abuse. I still feel it. It's like it's with
Mhm.
me every single day.
Yeah.
And I feel it somatically in my body. And I did a process with my tantra teacher at the time, Sarita, Manan Sarita, and she did a past life regression. And I actually felt myself like we don't have to get into whether this is true or not in 3D reality, but it was like as like tantric, like mastery development in past life, and then this choice to go the lowest of the low, to descend into the
Yeah.
unworthiness and the trauma and the depths
Yeah.
of pain so
Yeah.
that I could understand humanity on a deeper level, that
Yeah.
I could heal on a deeper
Yeah.
level, that I could teach at a deeper level, that I
Uh-huh.
could have compassion at a deeper level. And a series of these really low vibration, painful, traumatizing lifetimes led into, yes, the choice of this father and my soul choosing one of the deepest wounds that a human can have in this
Right.
lifetime because the excavation out of that pain, and don't get me wrong, it has taken so much from
That's
me.
right.
So much from me. Like
Right.
it's not to like whitewash it. It's not to be like,
No.
"Oh, thank you for that like deep
No.
ass trauma." No, like I I could not have the sex and relationship
That
and
is right.
love and connection to men that I wanted almost my entire life. Like I
Mhm.
lived lonely, exhausted, sad, with chronic
Mhm.
fatigue. Like it has been hell getting myself
Mhm.
out of that. So
Mhm.
I don't mean for anyone listening to
Mm.
understand sexual trauma through a lens of like some
No.
sort of gold medal. And having said that, and having said to anyone who has not been through that, like if you haven't been through it, you have no idea what it feels like and what it takes
Mhm.
to even just get through the day sometimes,
Right.
let alone love, let alone feel pleasure again. And it's a tremendous privilege to have the time, space, and energy to be able to integrate a wound like that, unfortunately, in our planet right now.
Right.
And I had the privilege to integrate that wound, to do the work,
Right.
to move through it. And in that, it has absolutely become one of the greatest gifts of empathy, compassion, being
Right.
able to sit in
Right.
any depth of anyone's shadow with them
Right.
and not flinch because I've been
Right.
there with my own.
That's right.
And in that, exactly as you're saying, all victim is gone. And then I
Yeah.
don't have to live as a walking sorrow about what was taken from me, but in like grand gratitude for what every moment of this universe offers. And what I would say to anyone listening who like it's kind of like inconceivable that you could get there. I had a tantra teacher once who said every moment is blessing or curse.
Yeah.
Every moment can be medicine or poison,
Yeah.
and you get to choose.
Yeah.
And to me, the courtesan's journey is this opportunity
Yeah.
for any woman or any person to choose the medicine
Right.
or to choose the blessing.
Right.
But you have to do it at a soul level. You have to
Right.
do it in a deep somatic
Yeah.
way, or else it's fake. And the invitation of that process is for it to be at a soul level reclaimed.
Right. And the space has to be held by a woman who has trod those steps herself.
Mm,
It can't be, it's not a casual thing.
mm,
It's something that is hard won, as you say, where first there is that excavation of that wounding beyond wounding.
mm,
And then it is almost as if that reclamation gives you the ability to hold space for others to step into theirs
mm,
because you have not been killed
mhm,
by your own death
mm,
of so it is which in my opinion, that is the gift of the feminine.
mm,
That's the gift of 8,000 nerve endings. That's the gift of having a womb, of having a pussy, of being able to be the giver of life. Because
mm,
even if you do not push out a baby, that's not the limitation of how we give life. We give life by claiming our own by and by standing in that essential raw gratitude. Like all these things interweave and hook deeply into each other, which is which immediately, when you're choosing gratitude, you're unhooking from the victimization of a patriarchal world culture, and you're saying, I am choosing life.
mm,
I am choosing myself, and I am choosing to say yes to the adventure of being me in all its
mm,
forms. And that is, that it's it's like it's such, first of all, it's a privilege to live,
mm,
but it's a privilege to liberate others.
mm,
And it's like I think it's like the incumbency. It's that thing that you're describing about how the culture is evolving
mm,
now, where we're all starting to be like, whoa, there is liberation in my ability to celebrate this particular moment right now, not
mm,
just for myself, but for everyone that I encounter.
mm,
And then your medicine just gets more and more and more powerful
mm,
as with each passing day.
mm, mm.
Ooh, yes.